Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports Worldwide. We come to you with the $1 Million Show every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I want to also say thank you to all of our listeners from Latin America. So bienvenidos to you. Today is beautiful July the 5th, 2016. And Big C, we also have some listeners. I want to thank them from tweeting in also from Russia. I had some people coming in from Russia tweeting out the Charlton and Big C Sports, also Latin America. We know we're in London, England. And, of course, I want to thank all the people over in Paris, France, and the great country of Canada, but also the United States of America just celebrated our Independence Day. Big C, how'd you good old boys down south spend your Independence Day, Big C? I'm sure there's a shortage of moonshine this morning, Big C.
Well, there's a shortage of some moonshine, but there's a little carcass left out there from that little pig we tossed out there on the grill. He stopped screaming after a while, and he became quite succulent. But, we had to wash him down, and I couldn't tell at first whether it was water or moonshine. I just know I went to sleep eventually, Charlton. But we had a wonderful time down here, great fireworks show, all of that, but like I told you, I gained 7 to 8 pounds, and so I'm still leaning back in my chair right now with my pants undone.
Well, remember growing up, when I was growing up back in the day, we had this guy named Richard Simmons. He always wore these short pants, Big C, so no one really knew if he was in shape or not, because you were saying, how could a guy have the gall to wear pants that short, Big C? So I don't know if he was in shape, but I do know I remember the pants were so short.
If you go back and look at the NBA in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, everybody wore those tight little shorts.
Oh, yeah.
You look up, made everybody look taller.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing about that in basketball. Everybody wore those thigh-high shorts.
Yeah.
Top of the thigh. And so a 6-footer could look 6'5", with those little tiny shorts. So now everybody has baggy pants on and everything. But, the NBA was a forerunner when that occurred.
Yes, like right now, everyone's wearing the pants that looks like they could jump out and parachute out of an airplane. The pants are so long, Big C. So I think a lot of things have changed in the fashion world. But I know also, we talk about blending Hollywood and how it mixes with sports. And nowadays you have a lot of people that follow sports and also Hollywood. I know you think about some of the people that were back in Charlie's Angel. They had Charlie. You never really saw Charlie. He's a lot like the Mystic Big C. Your thoughts on Charlie, Big C?
Well, James Forsythe, was a formidable voice that spent many decades on television. Most people will remember him from the show Dynasty.
Yeah.
But, he really laid a platform in the show with Charlie Angel, with Kate Jackson, Jacqueline Smith, Farrah Fawcett, and Bosley. I mean, it was a show of female detectives that ran for about a decade on television, Charlton. And, they always, it was almost like Mission Impossible. Yeah. Where this message would always come over the speaker from Charlie, and he'd offer the girls a mission if they would take it.
If they would take it, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember which episode they turned it down. Probably none.
Probably none. You don't turn down when Charlie's calling on the other line. That's for sure, Big C.
Well, if Charlie can call on the other line and you never know who Charlie is, you never know when Charlie might show up, Charlie.
That's definitely true, definitely true. I also want to make a nice announcement that Charlton and Big C Sports, we started at Salem Media back in September the 11th, 2015, and as things, progressed and things came to a head, and we decided to create our own program, but we got a letter from the GM stating that we had taken her program to number one in their market, and she called us the Dream Team, Big C. But, sometimes people go in their own directions. But I still want to thank Salem Media for giving us a chance. I know you've been doing this about 40 years, Big C, TV and radio, and myself just about 27 years. But we're going to be going over to iHeartRadio, and they're, of course, an American mass media company headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. And they have some of everybody on there. Big C, you follow iHeart over the years, and I know they've had Usher, he was on there, and a few other big-name people as well. So I want to thank them for sending out an opening for Charlton and Big C Sports. Big C, your thought on that?
Well, Charlton, it's always great to have growth in life. And this is what we've talked about when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
We've stayed the course. We've been true to our program, what we believe in. Real talk, Charlton. We're not a scripted program. We go each day by the cuff. Yeah. What we feel, what we know. And that has helped us expand, Charlton. If you think about when we started our show on February 29th, 2016.
Yeah, leap year.
4 months later, we get an invite iHeartRadio to join their family.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's greatly appreciated. You talk many times in the programming, Charlton, about creating opportunity for yourself. Don't sit back and whine saying nobody will give you a chance.
Yeah.
So Charlton and Big C took that chance and developed their own product. Their product is so sincere and true that it's copied by the networks, Charlton. Whatever we do on air, you will see it the next day, if not 2 days later, on the network. And this is nationwide, Charlton. So I greatly appreciate this opportunity from iHeart.
Yeah.
And this opportunity to work with you. You have been masterful. You're a great guidance. And on to bigger and better things, Charlton, with iHeartRadio.
Well, see, I appreciate that very much, Big C. We call you the Mystic, and I just wanted to bring this up because when I first got my start, it was through Tom Kelly at USC. He was a sports announcer for USC football for over 40 years, and, you know, he knows that a lot of times you get opportunity because of who you know and what you know. And I'll never forget spotting the game for California versus Texas All-Star football game and in Southern California, and he said, "You do a good job." And he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to get into broadcasting." Well, that was back in 1996, and about a few days later, I got a call from Mike Roig, who was working with John Madden and the late Pat Summerall, and he said, "Can you be in San Francisco for the Chargers and 49ers on Thursday for a preseason game?" And I said, "Yes, Big C," which is what you always talk about. But, you know, in this business, and I love our sports platform because I've worked with Fox and CBS and ABC and met all the great people in the business, Big C. But what I really love about this is something that you said, because the reason we have Charlton and Big C Sports is because of you. You're the one that said, do our own thing when things went away. You know, a lot of times people just go their own way for whatever reason, and I won't go back into that. But you've been in it for so long. You said, I have a proposition for you, and it came to fruition. Now, what does that mean? It's not really about us. We're going to do our thing anyway. This is about the young people who are in the sports business, Big C, and the guys that think they're going to be the next multi-millionaire. And I've always said, just what you have always said, go do your own thing. I think Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and Straight Outta Compton, Snoop Dogg, they were trying to get into the music business. And they were following someone else's guidance. But the other person's guidance was going to lead them into a different road. Well, Ice Cube said, I'm going to do my own thing. And now they're all multi-millionaires, and they created an identity for themselves, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
They created an industry, Charlton, not just an identity, an industry when you look at the path that they've all taken.
Yeah.
And you look at what we're doing, Charlton. This is an opportunity because we are what we are. You know, how many shows out there are real talk?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole key. And we're not just a sports show, Charlton. We're a social sports show.
Yeah.
We're a social conscious. We want America and the world to think beyond just the scoreboard, because the scoreboard is the finality.
Yeah.
But what gets you to that point, Charlton, is the key. Where does the development of the players, the team concept, all of that come from? Just like what we do, it's a developmental stage, Charlton, that you continuously go through. If you want to sit back and just read a script all night of a teleprompter with a score on it, I mean, anybody can do that, Charlton, and the networks are proving that. You just stick a face back there, tell them to read. As long as you're articulate enough to read a teleprompter, you can do something.
Well,
but the key is, Charlton, in what we do is that we develop and create stories that are real. And anybody can research them with their research staff and find out how accurate you are. We don't have a production crew.
Yeah.
This is you and I and intelligence working, Charlie.
Well, Big C, number one, I appreciate that. And I also want to say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And you can only get it there brand new at your Northern California Cadillac dealer. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, something that came up that you brought my mind to. I know you cover the Southeastern Conference, and I'm out here in the Pac-12, which used to be the Pac-8 and then the Pac-10. And you know we have these super conferences. But something I want to bring up.
That sounds like a little junior conference that's trying to grow up. You should have Pac-10, Pac-12. So anybody who have a car can drive into that conference.
Exactly. Well, you know, the great O.J. Simpson played at USC, and Hertz made him wealthy and famous beyond his playing days, Big C. But I want to bring this up because this is not just about who won the game last night. And, of course, we talk about the scores, too. And as I grew up as an athlete, unfortunately, as a big black kid and athletic, oftentimes I was approached and appraised and congratulated for athletic talent. as opposed to my academic prowess. Now, I'm just as erudite as the next person who reads a book. But I want to say this because it's so important, Big C. And you kind of brought it to my mind. And, of course, you read a lot more than I do, Big C, so sometimes I plagiarize what you're saying. But I think there's a world outside of the sports business that we want to get into. Just like we talked about Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh and all these coaches all over the country, they're looking for the next black athlete. And, of course, they recruit white kids, too. But Jim Brown had something on the Ali tribute last when they had the Ali ceremony. But you have been talking about it for pretty much the whole year, but on the program for like the last month. We got to start talking about economics and what's more important to you than when the sports days are over, Big C. Why is that so important to you, Big C, to have kids focus more than just athletics, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when I played, you had to put in a full 5 years to qualify for 100% of your pension. You had to play a minimum of 5 years.
Yeah.
You got 50% after 3 years, 75% after 4 years, 100% after 5 years. They've reduced that down now, Charlton, the number of years. If you play 3 years in the NFL, you qualify for your pension.
Yeah.
When you think about the average NFL career, Charlton, the average, 3.1 years, Charlton. 3.1 years is the average NFL quarterback. Now, we've seen players like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Johnny Unitas in the past, Deacon Jones, Carl Eller, Willie Lanier, the great Jack Lambert, Terry Bradshaw, players like this who've played well over a decade.
Yeah.
And everyone made them household names. They were in your living room.
Yeah.
But who were their teammates? How many people in the general public can go name 15 teammates of anybody in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Yeah. That's
the key. And so when you talk about longevity, it is not on the side of a professional athlete. We always, Kobe Bryant just retired after 20 years.
Yeah.
But count up the number of teammates that Kobe had while he was a Laker. He probably had 50 teammates, Charlton, over that 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you think about that as an athlete, are you preparing yourself for the afterlife of sports?
Yeah.
That is the key. How many of those do it? How many have those financial advisors, Charlton?
Yeah.
Who amongst those young athletes have the social conscience to prep themselves for 10 to 15 years down the road?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing, Charlton. And that opportunity exists. Regardless of race or creed, that opportunity exists. But you have to have intelligence and learn how to read, Charlton, articulate what you're thinking, and be able to communicate with others.
Well, see, I think that's so important, Big C. And also, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. When you go down there, you can test drive the 1 Series all the way up to the super powerful 600 horsepower M7, also known as the 760 Li. And when you're test driving it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, I know that we talk about all the sports, and we just had this huge happening of contracts, what they call these mega contracts. And I know you talked about some of the guys back in the day where there's a Bob Greasy or a Terry Bradshaw. These guys are Hall of Famers, but they're not getting the kind of money that guys like Brock Osweiler are getting, or even, Andrew Luck, who's only won 3 playoff games, but they made him more noteworthy in the bank than Tom Brady and everybody else has won Super Bowls, Big C. So that's going to happen. This world of sports is big. It's a way that we galvanize people. We bring people together. And that's why I want to do what Jim Brown talked about, even though I got to give you credit because you did it first. When he had Harry Empress on and the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali, we need to have athletes have an Ali consciousness, which means what are you going to do after your playing days are over?
Well, Charles, you got to look at it this way. Ali didn't have an athletic consciousness. He had a social
consciousness. Very social.
And he had that from a very young age. And when a young man could come back from the Olympics at 18 years old and be ostracized in his own community, he let the world know that, hey, I'm still a young black man and tossed this Olympic medal in the river.
Yeah.
Because he knew the platform that he had to develop in life was himself.
Yeah.
Not develop that gold medal because it was an afterthought, because it was already won and done.
Yeah.
But he had to develop himself. He had to move beyond that. And that's what he did. He was more important to himself than a piece of metal was. And he changed the world in many ways, Charlton.
Yeah.
When we've had this conversation about Mr. Ali before.
Yeah.
The second most recognized name in the world, Charlton. If you said his name there was only one name that was recognized more than his. That was Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a platform to be on, Charlton. That's creating world social conscious and awareness of what you're doing and what you are.
Yeah.
That's what Mr. Ali did for the world, Charlton.
Well, Big C, I think that's so important. You know, over the years in the broadcast business, I've been able to work with guys like Tom Kelly and Rod Gilmore, who's an attorney. His wife is I believe she's the mayor of Alameda County, but I worked with Rod as a spotter when he would do it Stafford football back in the day, back in the 90s, and also Steve Fiziak and Bill McDonald and several other guys that I worked with. Dan Bowamley is one of the best in the business, but I also want to thank Dave Cox over in Santa Rosa because he gave me the chance to work with Bay TV and Cable One Sports over in San Francisco. But Big C, I want to bring this up because this is so important. We just watched the way, and I know this is kind of painful for people to talk about because around sports, we're conditioned to just be kind of big, strong, and fast. But this business side, the thing that's happening to us with iHeartRadio, they didn't ask Big C how fast he could run the 40, and I told him Big C runs at about 4.8. Big C, would that be accurate?
4.8, I get out of bed that fast.
Okay, Big C.
4.8, just get out of bed.
Okay, maybe I should have embellished. Big C runs it in 4.5.
Before my feet hit the floor.
Okay. Well, I know I can probably pull about a 4.9 40 right now. The fastest I ever ran was about 4.5, and I did it steroid free, unlike a lot of Jose Canseco's friends, Big C. Had I known what Jose knows, and I heard one of the baseball players, they were doing an interview doing Pete Rose's celebration back in Cincinnati, and he was saying that he made $22 million with endorsements in his contract, and they said that they asked him the question, do you feel guilty that you did steroids to give yourself a chance to perform? And he said no. He said because if I hadn't done the steroids, I would not have made that $22 million. I probably would have made about $50,000 in mainstream. So whether you agree with it or not, I think when we look at sports, and let's not be naive, the sports world knows that performance-enhancing substances, Big C, they're not only endorsed, they are approved because it's the NFL that gives drugs to their players. They just call them legal. But if you get a guy who's injured, they give him something to help him pay through the pain, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, I played during that era where players were experimenting with steroids and teams were constantly injecting players with any type of pain.
North Dallas 40,
and not realizing that it was killing tissue, causing nerve and mental damage, Charlton.
Yeah.
But it was an era that was totally unregulated, but everybody knew what the side effects of these things would be from a medical perspective because all the teams, Charlton, had 3 or 4 team doctors.
Yeah.
You had team doctors there when you went out to practice.
Yeah.
They traveled on the plane with you to away games. They were always there. They were always available. You know, you think about going to a doctor's office and never having to wait. You know, I remember one time I got injured in a game, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, we fly back home that morning, 7:30. I'm in surgery because we had carte blanche. We had carte blanche. We didn't have to wait in line. So whatever we needed, we got from the medical staff, whether it was the team trainer or the team doctor. So when you look at that, Charlton, the advancement of steroids, and they've gotten to the synthetic steroids now, where they're very hard to detect.
Yes.
And you could not blame a player. I had many teammates who used these performance enhancements, Charlton, before they started being semi-regulated.
Yeah. Well, you know,
you knew it. It was an open door policy. Who was using it? No one cared.
Yeah.
But let me put it to you this way, Charlton. I don't care how many needles or how many pills you take. Unless you can develop your body and your mind to perform, all you're going to be is a big guy. I remember one year we had a guy, he was the 3rd strongest guy in the country coming to training camp.
Yeah.
They were trying to make him an offensive guard. I mean, you look at this guy and you got scared. I mean, as a grown man, you looked at him and got scared because, Jesus, I don't want to go against him.
Yeah.
But after a week of training camp, Charlton, I sent the guy home because he was great as long as he was laying on his back with a bench press. But you put him on his feet and told him to move laterally, he could not do it. So after a week of training camp, he could not make it and they cut him.
Yeah.
Physically, when you look at it as grown men in the locker room, we would all sit there and stare at him just in awe because this mass of a man who had taken the time to develop his body to that degree.
Yeah.
And like we said, we didn't care about the steroid usage.
Right.
It was just the dedication that he had to get to that point, Charles.
Well, I think you look at a guy like Mike Webster for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he knew, and all the people knew what was going on, and they know that it's still going on. And I think when we look at athletes, Jose Canseco has been ostracized from the baseball community for telling the truth. And I know it's bad when you do the same things with your guys and you tell on them, but he told on himself. And I think he did it for money, but he also did it to help clean the game up. Because, as you mentioned, Big C, there was a movie called, I think it was North Dallas 40, where they chronicled what happened in the world of sports. Now, think about this, because everybody's focused on Durant signing a $54 million 2-year deal to play for Golden State. And everyone's focused on, like, I think Mozgov signed $64 million to play for the Lakers, and he was interviewing with the car wash, Big C, when the Lakers gave him a call. So I don't know what Mitch Kupchak is drinking. But they're throwing so much money around. Noah's getting $72 million to play basketball. And I just think the world of sports is great, but there's also a seedy side of this business. And that seedy side is something no one wants to talk about until you listen to Charlton and Big C Sports. Players are told, and you know this is true, especially the ones in college that do it for free. If you don't perform, then we're going to get rid of you. Now, players are not dumb. Now, they know if a guy's shooting needles in his backside and he's getting bigger, stronger, and faster, and he's signing multiple million-dollar contracts, and the guy that's injured is not, he knows he's looking at a job at the car wash or some security company, or maybe he'll just take the needle and he'll make the money. So when the league's going to crack down on these guys, I think what they should do is allow guys to get whatever they get from doctors to make them play better without going through pain. And I don't know if it should be illegal or not, Big C, because they're going to do it anyway. I think the league should focus on the treatment of these players, Big C, not punishing guys the way Roger Goodell does. Your thoughts on that?
Well, they need to regulate the medical staffs more, Charlton. You're punishing players because you have this list, and they say, well, you have your own nutritionist, you have the team guy that you can call. They don't care, Charlton. It's about winning.
Yeah.
You know, they'll take the chance of one, maybe two players getting caught over the whole team. You got 53 players, so if you lose one or two, you can replace that, Charlton.
Yeah.
So these teams are aware.
Yeah.
You know, there's no player that's dumb walking into a locker room. You know, I go back to Maria Sharapova.
Yeah.
Talking about she was taking under something.
She didn't know.
We're talking about the tennis player. But she's been taking this for 10 years.
She didn't know what she was taking.
For 10 years, she's learned how to master. Now, this is the most marketed female in the world. Professional tennis player.
Yeah.
So she's very aware what goes in her body and her team is very well. You're going to think she doesn't have her own personal doctor? This doctor is constantly adding something, trying to mask whatever she was taking. So she got caught. She got busted in Australia where they didn't care about who she was.
Yeah.
But here it is. Even she lied. So, I mean, just to say that a football player is taking, I don't think the NBA has gotten to the level of drug testing. But the way some of these players can leap and run, I'm not saying nothing about Russell Westbrook. You know, and you take a Derrick Rose who's torn up a knee and an Achilles.
And comes back stronger.
And be able to play at the level as fast and as strong as he was before.
Yeah.
You know, I've had many knee surgeries and had many teammates and opponents that had knee surgeries. Whenever you have intrusive surgery, Charlton, you're never the same again. Okay?
Yeah.
But these players are better now with intrusive surgery. Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
You know, had the ligaments replaced in his knee, not repaired, replaced.
Yeah.
And came out and gained 2,000 yards the next season he played.
Well,
so
that's
something in the Kool-Aid.
Something's in the Kool-Aid or moonshine. And speaking of Kool-Aid, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealers, home of the all-new F-150. They build it for a tough. When you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also by Beneath His Wings Foundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and secure. And when it comes to promotions, contact Cynthia Evans of CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to promotions, she's the best. In Northern California, let her know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, Big C, something I want to bring up that I think it's part of this whole thing we talked about. You talked about Sharapova. I know that Serena and Venus Williams, as sisters, they've been two of the most dominant athletes in the tennis world. Your thoughts on them, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you know, it's amazing of the longevity that these two sisters have. When you think about Venus is 36 years old, Charlton. Yeah. And today she qualified for the semifinals at Wimbledon for the first time in 6 years. Now, that's an amazing feat. Venus also and Serena will both be in the semifinals. But when you think about the perseverance of an athlete, and you know, we gave praise last week to Pat Summitt. Yeah, amazing coach. Probably in basketball history, better than even John Wooden, because she graduated so many players. she did it the way that you should as a coach.
Yeah.
And when you look at the players who were developed under her, and that's what a Venus and Serena Williams remind you of. The dad, Richard Williams, people challenged him years ago down in Watts in Compton because he had these two young black girls out on the tennis court.
Yeah.
But the community respected him and respected them, and they protected him. And they've given so much back to the world and the community that they grew up in, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, over all these decades that they have played, they have been a shining light, Charlton, for the African-American community.
Yeah.
In the way that they've carried themselves throughout the world as ambassadors, not just for tennis, but for the African-American community, Charlton. The world has nothing but praise for them. They have been in front of kings and queens, Charlton.
Yeah.
But these are two women that when you see them, not only are you awestruck, but you do nothing but respect them.
Yeah, they definitely are a dynamic duo, Big C. But something that brings to mind, too, and they're very wealthy, but their father put so much time and energy into them, and I'm sure the mother did a lot, too, but their father kind of did an unorthodox training for them. They were not part of this social elite clubs that a lot of the Caucasian tennis players are privy to. And I want to equate what they're doing to athletics because they speak multiple languages, a lot like Kobe Bryant, and they came from the inner city. And what you talked about, that Jim Brown talked about, even though I thought he and Harry Edwards, they've been listening to what you've been saying because no matter how great you are as an athlete, you got to learn how to keep your money too. If you can't keep your money, doesn't matter how much money you make, Big C, because there's so many athletes that have gone poor after their years of playing the sport. And they have to find a way to protect their money as well, Big C.
After playing the sport. You got athletes that are broke while they're playing the sport.
Yeah.
I remember many times we had guys showing up early for training camp because they were broke.
Yeah.
They were hoping to get that reporting check. And I remember several teammates in that scenario. They're in town a week early hoping to get their reporting check early because they had spent all their money during the offseason, Charlton. So it's not just after the career.
Yeah.
The career is not over before most athletes are even broke.
That is so incredible, Big C, because this is, again, the Ali consciousness. Ali used to walk down the street without the bodyguards. He didn't have the bodyguards that LeBron James has, and he's more famous than LeBron James is. But every time you see LeBron out in public, he's not driving a Kia. He's making a commercial for Kia. But he can drive what he want to drive. He's rich. But a lot of people, you don't have to necessarily be rich to have a good life in America. If you can understand how to do this fantasy football, you can also understand how to do the stock market. So I'm encouraging not only these athletes, I put the onus on these teams, the sports teams, and people like Phil Knight that runs Nike. Most of their shoes are pimped into the black community for the most part. What if he were to take some money and put back into the inner cities for computers, and so they can learn math and science? Because if they were to understand what Mark Zuckerberg did, you understand math and science, you understand the stock market, it's okay to play sports after that, but you have to be economically inclined, Big C. Yeah.
Don't tell Phil Knight short. He understands math, all right?
Yeah, he does.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
This is why the Nike shoe is produced in Vietnam, okay?
Exactly.
Nike shoes are produced in Vietnam where workers make anywhere between 75 cents and $1.25 per hour. Think about that.
To wear the swoosh.
And they have to produce somewhere in excess of 50 pair of Nikes and shoes a day as an individual.
Yeah.
To make you $1 an hour.
Yeah.
And when was the last time you saw a pair of Nike shoes for less than $80, Charlton?
I don't think I have, Big C. I don't think I have.
From $80 to $500. And he's paying these workers in his factory in Vietnam, a country that the U.S. destroyed, that Ali would not go and fight these people.
Yeah.
Because none of these people that use any racial epithets are threatened. So Phil Knight is going over it. He understands, as well as many other American companies, let's make the money on slave wages.
And see, I think that's so important because we have these people, they're like a paragon of virtue because they want the Nike swoosh, just do it. And I'm not knocking the athletes. You're going to do what you want to do. But the same corporations that want to make one or two athletes mega millionaires, they can also do the same thing to create in the inner city, the same thing that's created in communities throughout the country that are of higher wealth. All you have to do is take the younger people who are impressionable, teach them math and science in the elementary level. And learning the stock market is a way to create your own employment. That would create a better opportunity for all American workers because you're not begging someone to give you a job. when you have more money, you tend to spend more money. And speaking of spending money, this final segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. Also by Goosehead, with the leaders in property and casualty. We beat about 99% of the people when it comes to a quote. Also, I'm a broker with One Life Insurance, with the leaders when it comes to final expense. You can tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports, and also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and soon coming to iTunes Radio. But Big C, I want to bring this last thing up in this last segment, because I know we talked about the All-Star game coming up with baseball, and when baseball guys get a mega $1 million contract, it's not as much mentioned because the league is predominantly Caucasian, or is Latin America. Now, you know, a lot of the Latin American athletes are the ones that are recruited more than the inner city athletes because they pay them less. And they come from communities where if you give someone a lot less money, they don't complain because it's a quantum leap in their lifestyle. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, when you look at Major League Baseball, you look at the NFL, and you look at the NBA, equal amount of teams in all leagues, Charlton. But which league dominates an $100+ million contract?
Yeah.
That's baseball. You know, when you look at it in totality, I mean, when a baseball player gets $200 million, no one says it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about Carlos Stanton, the $325 million deal he has down with the Florida Marlins.
Florida Marlins, yeah.
Steven Strasburg, about a month ago, when he signed a $175 million deal with the Washington Senators.
Yeah. Washington Nationals.
You know, Washington Nationals. And you look around baseball, Mike Trout has a $200 million deal with the California Angels. You think about Albert Pujols,
yeah,
who makes about $250 with the California. You got two players on the California Angels making $500 million.
Yeah.
$500 million. Two players.
Yeah.
And when was the last time they were in the World Series?
Well.
So let's be realistic. You're paid in baseball, but when you get money in football or in basketball, everybody's like, wow, this is unbelievable that this guy got this kind of money. When was the last time you saw a baseball game that was sold out, Charlton?
Yeah. Well, in San Francisco, primarily San Francisco, Boston, and Chicago. Outside of that, they're not 100% sellouts, Big C.
No. I mean, you go across the bay, you talk about San Francisco, go across the bay to Oakland, and tell me when was the last time they had a sellout. I mean, they always have a stadium tarped off.
Yeah.
You go down to Tampa Bay, they're not selling the place out, Charlton. Many places, Baltimore, one of the greatest stadiums in baseball, Camden Yards, it's not a sellout, and they got a hot team, Cleveland. You know, the hottest team in baseball right now. Maybe Wrigley Field you can sell out. But when was the last time you saw an NBA game on TV and it wasn't a sellout?
Oh, never.
When was the last time you saw an NFL team, a game on television and it wasn't a sellout? Because they have the blackout.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have a sellout, they black it out in your market. So, but these teams are selling out. I mean, yes, the Yankees are a great franchise.
Yeah.
The Mets are a great franchise. But you can't get a seat at MetLife Stadium where the Giants and the Jets play.
Well, it's not like the days. It's not like the days when the teams used to play in New York in the Polo Grounds, Big C. The stadiums are a lot bigger now, and you can only take so much money from taxpayers. And thinking of money, Charlton and Big C Sports, the Mega Million is up to $450 million tonight, and that's going to be won by Charlton and Big C Sports. Yeah, Big C.
I got that.
Oh, you got me on that?
I got that. I'll take care of you tomorrow.
Hey, well, just be careful. Don't drink too much moonshine and decide to tear the ticket in half, Big C, because they don't take it that way from what I understand. But in the last 30 seconds, Big C, just your thoughts on the sports world coming up. I know we talk about basketball and the contracts, but kids, you got to get your education, and we also talked about tennis. But your thoughts, Big C, closing out the show in the next 30 seconds. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, we're coming up on a mid-season point in baseball, Charlton, where, you know, you really evaluate teams who have an opportunity to make the playoffs. You're going to see a lot of trades after the All-Star game, but that's when baseball starts to hit its momentum and stuff, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've seen the free agency here in basketball. We've seen some of the signings in football. But sports is always such a great venue. It's a commonality throughout America. It will always create a conversation. It's part of our show. It's the basis of our show. But we're a societal show. And we talk about it all. But, you know, it's just great to be involved in sports and have had it in my life for some 50 years, Charlton.
Well, Big C, I always tell you I appreciate your time, but the show always goes by too fast. I think you need to send me some of that moonshine so I can start going a little bit slower, Big C, and going over the limit. But I want to tell you, I want to thank you for listening to Charlton and Big C Sports. We appreciate you every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Worldwide, you can listen to Charlton and Big C Sports. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.